welcome to the A-Team. I'm Amber. Amanda's not here yet. And RC is actually enjoying some family time. So I'm doing this remotely by myself. And of course, you can't have an A-Team without our famous producer. Spurge is going to be joining me because we did have some there he is. Hey Spurge.
What's up? I don't know. It's been so long since I broadcasted on any one of our
I
shows on this
know.
network, so I'm just filling in tonight. So thanks for letting me hijack your guys' show.
Yeah, I figured we had to have another woman on the show, and you're a perfect fit. So it works out really well.
Really, really, really. You have our two guests in the back. They're laughing. I'm a
Oh,
woman
yeah, you know
now.
they're laughing. That's the way it goes.
I mean, listen. I am 250 pounds. I do look like I'm pregnant, and I do have a man chest. So that's okay. I'll
Well,
take it
you know,
for. I'll take it.
it goes. It goes. Speaking of guests, our wonderful guests are none other than Mr. Andy the trainer. Andy Chadwick is a certified conditioning and strength trainer, and he has had the wonderful privilege of conditioning and strengthening our own Trey Kingsland, who we've been following for the past, what, this is week 3 now, right? Yeah, the past 3 weeks, we're watching and seeing the behind the scenes and what it takes for a player to get into the UFL. So, welcome, gentlemen. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate you guys and your time. Spurge wasn't able to attend, but I did. I was able to attend the Houston showcase for the UFL, and it was pretty amazing. I got to learn quite a few things, understand the process, and get to meet none other than Mr. October himself, Reggie Jackson. That was pretty amazing. So let's get started with you, Trey. How you feeling now that it's done? Oh, you're muted.
I'm sorry about
There
that.
we go.
I feel pretty good.
Nice.
Yes, ma'am.
Any,
Well, that was short. That was short and sweet
all
to the
right.
to the point. I mean, Trey. I mean, you're not beat up. You don't feel sore. Where you weren't sore for a couple days afterwards, or is Andrew just that good of a trainer that he just whipped you right back into shape?
If you want to know the truth, we were back in the gym the next day, and I was telling him how sore I was, and he was like, "You ran 140 and did 5 drills. What are you sore from?" So, so we were right back to it Monday, right back to it yesterday. So,
Awesome.
Now,
That,
I've been. Oh, sorry, Amber. It's your
how
show.
do you,
My bad.
Trey, how do you think you did?
I think I did pretty well. Obviously, my 40 time was probably night and day compared to my pro day, so I'm happy about that. I'm just excited to see what happens from it.
Well, I know that the conditions were harsh,
Oh,
and
they
it,
were
it was a little bit hot, a lot of bit of humid, and we did have some scattered showers. They actually paused for lightning. So we did want to commend the people that ran the UFL, Coach Steve and his team that were doing the showcase. Actually ensured all of the players' safety. The process was pretty cool, and I didn't know if you by chance got a better understanding of it, Trey. What do you think about that process?
I mean, it's unique because you get players from all different kinds of backgrounds. That part is interesting because you get like top level athletes, and then you get some people that just want to go out and see what they still have. And then just coaches being on the field, interacting with players, being able to test with some of the people that have been, like tested people at the combine and stuff like that. It's a great experience. Obviously the weather conditions and stuff like that made it a little tricky. But even just meeting some of the players that have been in the UFL or the USFL, and just giving their insight on what it's like, what their thoughts were and stuff like that. It made it great.
Now, Trey, I got a question for you. You're a professional athlete. You do all this training, but then you go to do this combine, and it starts to rain, and it's humid. Like, maybe both you and Andrew can answer this question. But as a player, and then I'll go to Andrew as a trainer. What is the mindset? You're used to having it as the perfect day, and now it's humid, it's raining, lightning. You got to stop. What is that mental process for you as a player that you go through? Explain that to people and how that process works.
Yes, sir. I mean, for me, being in Nebraska, I mean, you play in all different types of weather. So for me, I mean, Sunday was perfect. A little humid, but the rain and just that environment right there, that's football weather. That's the type of stuff, I mean, you love to play in. I mean, obviously running conditions and stuff like that, it's not the best, especially I was warming up for the 40 and I almost face planted. So I was a little worried going into the 40. But I mean, just mentally, you just have to understand that it's football. And at the end of the day, this might be your only shot that you have. So you just got to make the most of it. Don't let the conditions change anything that you've been doing. Just trust what you've been doing and go out there and do it. I mean, the weather is the weather. You can't control it.
And now, Andrew, you as a trainer, training your athletes, training Trey, what was the advice that you're giving to him with the way that the conditions were and stuff like that? Like, does that change your perspective and on things you tell him to do?
Yeah, so when we were kind of watching, a lot of it was more of the positional stuff. And so we didn't really have any kind of control over that. We weren't really kind of interacting too much when he was doing that stuff because he was with the other players and being able to kind of produce that way. Now, when he started to get into the later end of the session and they were doing the 40 and they were starting to warm up for it, guys were kind of scattered through the end zone, warming up. And that's where I kind of really went over and just watched what he was doing and just made sure that he was working on the technical stuff that we'd been talking about earlier in the day and then weeks leading up to it. And so just kind of watching where he was. Sometimes the hardest thing for a coach to do is nothing. And so I'll tend to kind of just watch and see where he is mentally. And I think that works really well for me and him. Because if I feel like he needs something else, I'll just ask him, like, are you ready or not? What do you need from me? And how can I help? And so when I was watching him, he was doing everything that we'd done previously. And I feel like he's pretty good at that anyway, that I just gave him a few extra things that I thought, okay, let's just get you in the mindset of being running this 40. Let's maybe just take the focus away from how the turf is and the weather has been, that we're just getting locked in and ready to go. And so I think I maybe gave him 2 cues for like exercises. And then he just looked and went, what shall I do from like a prep? And I just went, do 2 10s. Don't do them full out. Just remember the technical stuff we've been working on and get after it. And that worked really, really well.
Now, Trey, Andrew, your accent doesn't sound like it's from the U.S.
No, it's not.
Where can I ask where it's from?
Yeah, it's from England.
Okay, so now, Trey.
Yes, sir.
How does an American football player get tied up with an English trainer? Because none of the girls have asked this, so I had to ask. How did you?
I'm telling you, it's the wonderful Scottish game of golf.
So how did you?
It did start before that.
Yeah, it started way before golf.
The story, the credit, it started 2 years before that.
Nice. How did it start?
Yeah, how did you guys come about? Let's go it there, because here's a guy playing American football, and Andrew, I'm assuming you played European football.
Yes, sir.
Correct. Now, Amber, in America, in overseas, it's called football. Okay. Over here, it's called soccer, right, Andrew?
Yes.
We'll wait for the Amber tip of the evening for that.
Okay. So, like, Trey, what was it that drew you to Andrew as him being the European playing soccer? Because that's a very, very conditioned sport. You have to be very, very well conditioned. But, like, what was it that drew you to Andrew? It's like, okay, look, I'm American football, he's European football. What was that appeal? What's that? And how did this all come about?
Honestly, so I came to Texas during COVID, and I was just looking for somewhere to train. And honestly, like, the place where Andy was working at the time, it's called D1 Training San Antonio, was like one of the only places that was allowing people to come train. And so I went there for a couple of sessions, and I was training with some other coaches. And honestly, Coach Andy was kind of standoffish. Like, he didn't really say anything. I tell people all the time, the first time he opened his mouth and he had a British accent, I was like, yo, who is this guy? And so obviously, like, we do it now. Like, we joke around with each other, and that's kind of how it started. And it just became a joking relationship. And then all of a sudden he would start giving me tips and things like that. And then the next thing you know, we were working pretty closely. And then I left. Then once I came back, I was in the process of trying to figure out some schools that I wanted to go to and get recruited. And I went to some other places, and I felt like just knowing his background, getting to know more about him, and things like that, like he was the best fit. I mean, he doesn't really talk about it, but he's not just a golf trainer. He could train every sport. He did a pretty good internship in California that I'll let him explain himself. I mean, I'll let him talk about himself. But at the end of the day, I knew his background that a lot of people don't know, and I knew what he was capable of. And so I trained with him before I went somewhere, and then I went to Exos in Phoenix, Arizona, which people think is like the best place to train for any athletes. I mean, they produce a lot of good 40s and things like that. And honestly, I felt like Coach Andy was better. And so I went back and I trained with him, and I seen the results that I had. And so ever since then, I've never trained with anybody else. I mean, for my pro day, I trained with somebody else just because of my agent and things like that. And we joke around about that. But just being able to meet him and just know his background, that's how we got in contact with each other.
I was looking at
there's
this
your 40.
I gotta tell you, man, we timed you, and just from the sidelines, in those conditions, you were definitely above average from all of the others that went ahead of you, to the point that Mr. October himself said, "That's a quick one." So I was real happy to hear about that. And I know that Coach Andy and we were kind of comparing notes, watching some of the other players, and we could always tell the tracksters from the footballers by the way that they started and how fast that they got up on that approach. So, Coach Andy, from that perspective, what do you think is the best approach when it comes to a 440? You know, if you're trying to get that 4.3, that 4.2, or even lower.
Yeah, so me and Trey have talked about this a fair bit, because athletes they'll almost rush the start. And Trey picked something up in Utah, which I thought was really cool for him, where once he got into his position, he would actually pause for a 1 second count and make sure he was set. And I saw a few times some of the athletes would kind of do that, but then rush the start, and they were kind of trying to almost force themselves to get out into it. And the other thing that worked for me and Trey was when he came back, we did some kind of start positional stuff, and we looked at where he was in relation to his feet and his hand on the line. And we noticed that he kind of looked like he was pretty cramped to the line, and it just didn't feel like it was working for him. And so we kind of just talked through another way of setting up his feet and kind of measuring about a foot away from the line. And then that's where your start foot would be. And then we'd work on kind of where he wanted to be with his back foot. And so I just kind of watched a few of the guys. They were really cramped up to the line. But then what happened was when they tried to drive, they would end up standing up real quick. And they were losing that kind of press out away from the line and try and push against the turf to drive forward. And it was kind of a telltale sign that as soon as an athlete is standing up real quick and they've got their head up, they're trying to almost be at top speed when actually they're really in their start sprint and then moving through into that acceleration phase into obviously then top speed. And so you could kind of see that these guys were trying to get to top speed and they weren't even there yet. And so it was really cool to obviously go through that process with Trey, because we were able to adjust that technical stuff for him personally. And then when you see some of the other guys that are starting to run it, you're like, yeah, you've left some seconds out on the table and crucial milliseconds essentially that are going to be the determining factor of being noticed or not.
Yeah, it's those tenths and even sometimes the hundredth of a second that can make and break a 40 with an athlete during a combine or a tryout like that. So, Trey, after Coach Andy gave you all of those little tips, was he able to show you the different examples to kind of get you a better understanding of what it was that you needed to do?
I mean, yes, ma'am. I mean, even going into my pro day, like I was obviously training with somebody, but I would send Andy videos all the time, just asking him what could I fix and things like that. But I mean, it's nothing like being in the facility with him and him being able to obviously record. Like we would just record my start. We wouldn't even record the rest of the 10, like just how I'm getting out of my start and things like that. So, I mean, it was really beneficial to have somebody just focus on the little details, because, I mean, we've always talked about how we think my top speed is where it is. And so just getting out of the start and being able to keep your head down and stay in the dry phase and not be cramped up and just be relaxed and run. It was very crucial to this 40, having him behind me and helping me.
That's awesome. Well, just to give our viewers a little bit of insight into the UFL process with this showcase, it actually goes into 3 and possibly even 4 parts. So this first showcase is the very beginning, and if they do well, they get film, and the film is proprietary use of UFL, and it gets shipped out to the different coaches and the different teams, and their staff reviews it. Once they review it, they get to cherry pick which players by number. They don't even know the names. They just cherry pick them by number and say, hey, I want to get more on him. They get more information on him. And then that individual player actually gets an invite to the team to do the exact same thing. And if they do well that second time around, then maybe, just maybe, they'll go through an interviewing process to see if they're a good fit with the rest of whatever's going on for the team. Make sure that we're having the locker room camaraderie that we're supposed to have. Make sure that you're doing well with your public and social media. There's no behind the scenes hijinks that they're trying to dig up or anything. If that part is a fit, then they will actually invite the individual to a training camp and hopefully be able to get them sent in for one of the top 53 positions. So, with that being said, Trey, any ideas on any potential invites?
I didn't understand. I hope you two understood anything she just said because I literally just drew a blank
Look,
of what she said.
you get UFL Combine. Tape goes to coach. Coach picks player. Player gets
Got
invited
it.
to a team combine. Then they
Okay,
go through
got
an
it.
interview process, and then they get an invite to the team training camp.
Much simpler. You should have just said that the first time.
Yeah, I know, I know. We're not used to the male mind on this show. Sorry, Spurge.
I can see.
If he gets invited to one team training combine, like showcase,
Mm-hmm.
if that one went well, but they didn't pick him for whatever reason, would he potentially go to another showcase with another team as well?
He
So
could.
he could end up doing a few.
He could get invited to all the teams in the UFLs individually. That's the potential. That's the great thing about this, is that it's not set to just one time frame. The teams and the head coaches, the general manager, our head coach was there, Coach CJ. We did see Coach Wade with the Brahmas. He was there. We did see a Battlehawks coach out there. So we get the coaches are going to these multiple showcases to potentially look out and scout out, see how well you do here versus Atlanta versus one of the other showcases if you do attend. Now, if they look at you and they like you, they can invite you. And if it doesn't work out at that point, another coach could potentially pick you up. So you've got 8 times the shot here in the UFL when it comes to ranking and being recruited by one of these teams.
Cool.
Yeah. Now, Trey, here's something I got to ask. Right here, you're doing your running drills, and I want you and Andrew to break this down. Give it in layman terms to people who are not professional athletes. Well, I mean, it's the truth. I don't know what the hell you're doing in this. I just know they gave you a ball and you're running. But explain the process of as you're doing this, and then Andrew, I need you to explain what just happened to my computer. Oh, there it goes. Hold on, my computer. There it goes. And then Andrew, after he's done, you explain the process of what it is that you see as a trainer.
I mean, so for me, the main thing is obviously first thing, catch the ball. I mean, second, I mean, the bags are there, but you don't want to be looking at the bags. You want to get your legs up as high as you can. I mean, and a very minimal cue that they gave us was make sure that you jump cut. And some people don't know the difference between just cutting off of one leg and actually doing a jump cut. So a jump cut is plant both legs, jump through the cones, and then explode. Some people were just making 1 foot cut and jumping through the cones, and like the coaches straight up would be like, no, like that's not what I asked for. Next. And so like you start to really understand that they're looking for like, can you pay attention to detail? Like, can you do exactly what I tell you to do after I've just shown you 3 times that this is exactly what I want you to do? And so for me, it's just paying attention to the details, paying attention to the first person in line that's going, taking some cues, because I was right after a guy that was already in the USFL. So he was like, bro, make sure you do this, and this. And so just being able to be around him and get the knowledge from him. I mean, the biggest thing for me was don't think about it. Just go out there and do it. You know you could do it. I mean, it's football at the end of the day. So, especially being someone that played defensive back in college and now you're doing running back drills. I mean, if you can move backwards, I'm almost positive you can move forward. So, it wasn't that much.
I shake my head like I know what the hell you're talking about, and I have no idea. I'm just like, yeah, makes sense.
If you can backpedal through an agile bag, and break things like that, you can run forward through 4 agile bags and make a jump cut.
No, I don't think so. I'm 47 years old. Don't think this old man's going to be able to do that. Andrew, as a trainer, when you watch that video, what are you looking at to help Trey better himself?
Yeah, I mean, he kind of hit the nail on the head in terms of getting through the bags. It's very much kind of getting the knees up. The last thing you want to see, especially from a running back, is if they get tackled and they're kind of the players holding onto their legs, for example, you still want to be getting the knees high and driving. And so the last thing you want to see is the low legs going over the bags or even catching the bags. That's the last thing you want to see. And so from that aspect, it's can you drive into the ground and move fast through the bags? And then once you get to that jump cut, like he said, you don't want to see an athlete hit the ground and be planted. You want to see them spring off with both feet and then get out. And so they're really looking at that kind of speed and that ability to drive the knees and drive the legs. So they're obviously going to be athletic and powerful, but then are they agile to move across and then get out still? And so it's really just the athlete's ability to not only produce that force in a linear fashion, but can they move laterally? That's going to give them a kind of cutting edge, if you will, rather than some of the athletes that are sticking the 1 foot in the ground. Again, whether it's listening to direction or not, have they got the ability to be agile under speed? Because as soon as, if you watch that video again, as soon as he comes out of the bags, he's approaching that cone pretty quick. And so has he got the ability to break down, move laterally, and get out again? Because that's what you're going to need from a running back. And so technically, he needed all of that to be able to put that drill together. And so we put that into his training.
What you can't see on the back end is that there's somebody there telling you what direction you're going. So if your eyes are down, you could cut the wrong way.
Yeah. Now on this one, here you go again. You're coming out. It looks like you're running a slant, if I'm not mistaken, just from playing my years of Madden. Was that a slant you ran there?
So if I was a receiver, that would be a slant. But because I'm coming out of the backfield, that's something you call an angle route or an arrow route.
Now, you can see the rain is coming down as you're doing that, right? So how slippery, that looks like artificial turf. So, like, how hard is that to make that cut in the rain?
I mean, for me, I grew up in Alaska. Like I said, I played college football in Nebraska. I mean, these turf conditions are not something that are, like, anything that I'm not used to. So, like, for where most people are like, oh my gosh, it's raining and the turf is wet. I mean, the turf was really wet. Like sometimes there's moments where you can see water coming off the turf and things like that. But for me, it's nothing that I'm not used to. And those cleats aren't something that I've used the whole ton. So, I mean, the grip was pretty good.
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to ask. Did you bring cleats for this weather condition, or do you think any other of the potentials did the same?
I mean, for me, I just brought the cleats that I knew I was going to run fast in. I mean, those are pretty lightweight Nike cleats that are not very used up. And so I wasn't planning on it raining. I know it was raining in San Antonio on the way there. But when I looked at the weather in Houston, it looked like it was pretty clear. So I was like, okay, we're going to have a pretty nice, just a little humid day. And that was not the case at all. But I mean, I wouldn't have changed my cleats even if I would have known it was raining. It's not something I've bank on, honestly.
That's good. So those high knees, I mean, are you like anybody that you're trying to emulate? Is there a potential Earl Campbell-esque style of running, or even like a Marshawn Lynch? Because those high knees is what pounds and keeps people from getting a hold of you, and you can break tackles and take off without an issue. So are you trying to emulate a style when it comes to those high knees?
I mean, I feel like that's more game-like. When you're going through drills like this, obviously, you're just trying to think less and perform the best that you can. If it came to like emulating somebody, like I said, he did a pretty good internship when he was in California. He trained like somebody with the name of Darren Sproles. And so I'll ask him occasionally, like I'll just throw in a question like, what was Darren Sproles like? Like, how was his mentality like? Just because I watch him, and obviously in stature, probably height, he's probably a little shorter, but comparison to his height and his size, we're probably about the same. And so for me, that's somebody like I want to emulate. And one thing you watch when you watch Darren Sproles, his feet never stop moving. He just got them quick, choppy steps, and he's driving his knees. And so for me, obviously playing the running back position before, I know that's something that they look for, just being powerful and how fast can you get your leg back up and back down into the ground and be powerful. So when it comes to the drills, though, emulating somebody, that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to not think, go out there, have fun, and when it's my turn, just do the best I can.
Make your own path in it. I love that. I love that. And so, Andrew, are there any like last minute little tricks that maybe the average 46-year-old prior or non-existent athlete like Spurge up there above you can
47.
can use? I was trying to be nice. Can
It's all right.
use for beginners, maybe some stuff like that maybe some beginners trying to get back into being into fitness would be able to utilize and move forward with. Since you're a training coach, what would be a quick, easy way to help get started?
What are you saying? I'm fat, Amber?
I didn't say that.
Oh, okay.
So, do you mean in the context of kind of performing like we see in the videos?
Listen, Andrew, I'm 47 years old. I weigh 250 pounds. I'm 5'9". This guy, look, this right here would kill me. Okay? If I was doing this, this would kill me. Just give me something easy an old 47-year-old fat dude could do. Nothing like this, because I don't need to die. I mean, Trey's laughing, but I mean, Trey, it's the truth. I'm 47 years old. I got a big beer belly, and I look like I'm 9 months pregnant. But something simple and easy to do.
I think the first thing I'm going to tell you is you're probably in the wrong group. You need to be with the lineman. Let's get you in the lineman group, and we'll be all right.
There you go. Well, I think we've got a question from the comment board. Is that right, Spurge? We got a question for Coach Andy.
Right there.
What type of feelings do you have, Andrew, when you see one of your students excel in the showcases such as Trey?
It's definitely a feeling of like pride. I'm definitely proud of what he's done, and kind of over the last 4 years, we've not only just trained together, but we've had multiple conversations where it's like you start to understand that this is someone's dream and this is what they're putting everything into, and they're trying to make the best decisions and put themselves in the best positions possible to excel. And so I've actually never seen Trey play in person. I've never seen him perform in person because he's always been out of state. And just with my family situation, having kids and stuff like that, it's made it real difficult for me to go to games. So given the opportunity to actually go and be there in person and see him perform, it's very much like a proud moment of like, this is what we were working towards. And the truck ride back from Houston to San Antonio was a really good moment because we were able to kind of be present, appreciate the moment, and really kind of dive into what we want to take from this entire experience over the last 4 years. But how could we keep awareness of that going forward into the next phase now, whether that's with the UFL, whether that's CFL, NFL, whatever it may be, how can we enjoy it right now that we don't lose sight of that going forward in the future? And so it was a really good moment to reflect with him on the trip ride back. And I'm grateful that we had 2.5 hours of being able to kind of sit, talk, and hear each other out. And that was a really cool moment as well. So it's very much kind of, I'm proud of him. He's done the work. I always knew he would. But I think just the appreciation of what it's taken him to get to that point is a big one as well.
Right. With that being said, I wanted to make sure to give recognition where recognition is due. And I wanted to give a shout out to Catherine Schultz with the Houston Roughnecks, along with Brett Zielinski. Both of them allowed us as super fans to come in and kind of take a look. So there was like 4 or 5 of us in there. And I mean, even the family members were not able to go in to help out and take a look at and show support for the players. So a big shout out to the Roughnecks fans to help us get in there, and a big shout out to the Roughnecks staff for allowing us access. I know that it's definitely once in a while. Coach CJ came back and asked us afterwards, how did they do? I mean, it wasn't just a question of how you performed on the field, but also a question of how you performed off the field. And so when we were running by with pictures or doing videos, a little snippet saying, hey, I'm at the showcase, it was kind of seeing who's paying attention, who's saying hello, who's, kind of smiling and making sure they're okay. And Coach CJ definitely saw Trey stand out a little bit. There was a quarterback that stood out for him very well. And there was also an O lineman that Andrew and I thought was pretty exceptional
You know about
compared
Mullet?
to the rest. Yeah, Mullet. We don't know their names. We only know them by number. So it was number 142. He was a stocky, blonde haired, mullet wearing guy, and he was just fast and agile. And I'm going, O line? Really? This guy's amazing,
That
And
would
of
be
course,
that would be me. That would be me on
yeah.
the O line now. Hmm.
So sorry, Charlie. But no, Trey also definitely stood out. I know that he was talked about by some of the staff members, some of the coaching members. There was number 72, I think, was Aline Bryson. He used to play for the Roughnecks, was with
Yeah.
San Antonio, and he stood out a little bit as well. I know we had a couple of players that were out there going to all the showcases. We found out what the yellow wristbands were for, so that was a bonus. It was people that paid for their extra for the film. So just a heads up, if you do another showcase, you can pay extra for film and get the film yourself, so you can ship it out to individuals for potential connections going forward. I think that at the end of the day, it was a great showcase, despite it ending a little bit faster than we anticipated due to the weather. I think that the players were out there giving it their all. Some of the players we questioned for sure. What are you doing here? I can throw better than that, but
Uh,
hey, you haven't seen me throw a football, Spurge.
yeah, I
So,
know. So here we got another question. This is from your esteemed co-host, who's actually sitting upstairs doing paperwork. I'm going to start with Trey. Trey, if he wants to know, is there any time where the two of you have butted heads?
Not only is he my trainer, but he's also my boss. We butt heads every single day.
oh, lovely. Andrew, is that true?
No, it is. It is. It's never like it's never aggressive. It may seem it if people are in the room, they'd be like, "Whoa, this is going to turn sour real quick," but it's never that way, and we both know that. I think, like I say, having been around each other for 4 years, we kind of know each other pretty well, and so I know when he's being serious, and I know when he's not. Like, was it 3 weeks ago, maybe he'd done a pretty difficult workout, and when he'd finished, he was lying on the turf and he was just kind of like meditating with a towel on his face. So I thought it'd be funny just to throw foam golf balls at him just to see what he would do. Maybe it's a bit of mental training, I don't know. But at one point, he just said, "Will you please stop?" And so I stopped because I knew it was going to get serious if I didn't. And so we know each other pretty well. We've been knowing, we know when to stop it and when to curb it.
Hey, Trey,
Well,
that's definitely a testament to your patience, and you're going to need that because there's going to be a lot of trash talking from the opposition and the fans. It's going to get pretty intense. Hopefully, you'll be prepared for it. Start throwing eggs, Andrew, next time.
right
Just throw
now,
eggs.
now, Trey, I want to ask you. I want to follow up something what Andrew and what Amber, what like right here. When we asked Andrew, what's the feelings do you have when you see one of your students sell? And Andrew said that you guys had that 2.5 hour ride home.
Yes, sir.
And you did the self-reflection, right, Trey? So for you, we heard how Andrew saw the self-reflection. How did you see the self-reflection of over that 2 hour drive home?
I mean, I got in the car, and he can attest to this. One of the first things I said, and I said it over and over again, I said, "God is good." That just keeps me grounded in knowing. I mean, I know Andy did put a lot of work into helping me get to where I am, but I do also understand that if it wasn't for God, I wouldn't even have been in the position. A little bit of the self-reflection piece. I mean, just Andy knowing a bit about me, like 2 years ago, maybe even 4 months ago, I wouldn't have done a UFL showcase. I would have just looked at it like a waste of time, something that I wasn't really interested in, and I would have been interested in doing some other things. And so just looking back on just the faith that I have, the confidence I have in myself, and the confidence that people have around me that are backing me, and just realizing that, I mean, man, I can do this. Like, I do have the speed. I do have the talent to compete against people that have gone to better schools, have been in better environments, and honestly, people that have already played in the league. And so for me, the self-reflection was just being grounded in the moment and understanding like you're good enough. Just keep doing what you're doing. And obviously, even though things aren't going the way you want them to go right now, at the end of the day, at some point, it's going to work out. I mean, at one point, we were talking like, what's going to happen next? Like, when this happens, what are you going to do? And things like that. And then a big piece of our self-reflection was we just did a little Q&A. He had these questions that he was asking me that were really personal, but it sparked a conversation. I mean, and we just talked the whole ride. And it kind of takes your thoughts away from everything that happened or what you could have done wrong or what you would have done right and things like that. And you just appreciate the moment, appreciate what you just did. Because at the end of the day, like you did just do a good job. And so for me, that was the self-reflection. Like you did everything you could. Now just let's see if it's good enough. And if it's not, how can we get back to the drawing board and make it good enough?
You know, it's funny that he says that, Amber, because, you know, I had a dream to start this little network that we have and this little TV app that we have, and being told that, you know, you'll never get it done, you won't get it done, and having the people behind you to get it done, like the people like Amber and the A-Team with, you know, Amanda and my partner Arlington, A-Train, and all those guys, to see it come to fruition. It works. And what you guys have done for me is you guys have lit a fire under my ass again. Long story short, you guys have lit a fire under my ass to make this thing the best thing that it can when people told me that I can't do it. And Trey, just listening to what you were saying in your reflection, that I am good enough to do this. I know that our network is good enough to be what I think it can be. So with that being said, I just had to throw that out there. So that's just the shout out to all my people that helped me do all this. You got a question? What's the highest level of competition you have played, Trey? Well, knowing Nebraska, I mean, it's not Mizzou, but I mean, it's Nebraska.
I mean, so
Texas team.
Just across my whole college career, I'll just give you a little background. So my freshman year of college, I played Division III football. People look at Division III football and they're like, boo-hoo. One of my teammates was in the NFL for 8 years. He's actually in the UFL right now, plays for the Washington Defenders. His name is Michael Joseph. He had all 30 NFL teams come to University of Dubuque when I was there. He had Jim Nagy, who's in charge of the Reese Senior Bowl at our practices. So just seeing that every day, you just see greatness. And then there was like 3 or 4 other people. I mean, we went to Wisconsin, Oshkosh. They had this little receiver, and I'm from Anchorage, Alaska. So when you see certain body types and things like that, you're like, man, I'm about to kill you. That kid gave me crazy work. And 2 years later, he was with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I went to junior college in California, played against a whole bunch of Division I bounce backs. What some people don't know about NAI level football is that some guys are just Division I athletes straight out of high school that ran out of eligibility or got in trouble. And now they're playing at that level just because they want to continue to play college football. I played in the Great Plains Athletic Conference, which is night and day the best conference in NAIA. I played against NAIA Offensive Player of the Year 2 times in a row. I played against numerous All-Americans who got pro opportunities. So highest level of competition, I mean, I played against people that have played all the way from Division I all the way down to the lowest level, all the way to people that are in the NFL. So.
And soon you'll be playing this 47-year-old guy. I'll be your O-lineman standing in front of you, trying to run down the field with you. I might fall on my face, but you could just jump over my half-dead body as you're running down the field. So how does that sound? I'm big enough. I think I can block for you.
Spurge, if you're my O-lineman, I'm getting to the sideline as quick as I can and getting out of there.
Thank you, Jesus.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jesus. All right, guys, tell people where they can find you, Trey. Tell people where they can find you on social media. Andrew, tell people where they can find your gym, all of that stuff, and how they can find you guys.
Go ahead, Trey.
Instagram, Trey.Kingsland. X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, is Trey_Kingsland. My Facebook, I guess we do Facebook.
Wait, are you a millennial?
I mean, I'm on Facebook more than anything. Just that's how my family tries to send me stuff and get in contact with me. But my Facebook is Trey V. Kingsley Kennedy. That's about it. That's all I'm willing to give out.
Wonderful. Good.
These us old people use Facebook.
He does MySpace. Don't listen to him.
You're right. I
Andrew,
still have my MySpace account.
You know what's funny is I just told one of the kids in the
still
facility
active.
today. They were asking me about social media, and I said, "Bro, MySpace, if it was here today, would be popping because you can play the music on your profile page."
You get your top 10. Your top 10 friends. Come on.
Yeah.
I'm definitely number 1. I'm kidding. I'm number 2. Andrew's probably got the top spot. It's okay. Andrew, tell us where your social can be found, and go ahead and plug out the gym and the stuff that you're doing there.
Yeah, so probably the easiest way of connecting with me and connecting with the facility is just Instagram. It's probably the easiest one, and it's just Elite Training Academy. So again, it's Elite Training Academy on Instagram, and that's probably the easiest way to find us and connecting with us.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, gentlemen, thank you so very much.
Hold on a second.
Oh, he's looking it up.
Wait, hold on.
It's not on my
actually. No. I actually think we worked. I was actually Andrew back in 2020. No, was it 2020 or 2023? We were supposed to hook up because we were going to have a few of your guys on our X-Fan show, and then something fell through. If I'm not I don't remember, but when you said it, I'm like, wait a second, we were supposed to do some stuff with him, and then some stuff fell through. Yes, that's what it was.
It only took 2 years, but I'm on the podcast now.
You're not on mine. You're on our. I just infiltrated the women's show tonight. I'm just playing my feminine side tonight. That's all.
We'll get it figured out, and I'll come on the show.
Right? Yeah, gotcha.
Gentlemen, with that being said, thank you so very much for your time again. And we'll definitely keep everyone posted here on the ATeam with Trey's progression, and hopefully be able to give y'all a winning moment of him being signed up for a UFL team. Fingers crossed. In the meantime, Andrew, you keep training him. Hush your face up. We're not going to Battlehawk territory. Stupid war chickens. Andrew's going to keep him going and make sure that he does get to that level and even further. So thank you again, gentlemen. We truly do appreciate it. You all have a wonderful week, and thanks for coming on. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Now, Spurge, we got to get to talking with the latest and the greatest in the UFL, okay?
Oh, are you serious? Do you really want to?
Did you hear breaking news?
I did. Do you really want to ruffle those feathers?
Here to ruffle the feathers like a Thanksgiving turkey being plucked?
Well, I didn't think the women's show was more about ruffling feathers.
Oh, yeah. We need the feathers for our boas.
Oh, is that what it was?
That's totally what it was. At the end of the day, I saw the breaking news. I don't know if you have anything that you wanted to pop up with it, but the U.S. Army is looking to recoup some of their investment in the sum. I think it was like 50% of what they invested. There could be some potential other things that are going through. They're saying that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson has not done his due diligence and held up his end of the bargain, which leaves him in breach of contract. Some of the stuff that's been said, ladies and gentlemen, is that he was supposed to have made a certain number of social posts with his over 400 million viewership and following, and he's failed to do that. And as a result, the military, U.S. Army, is saying that they've not received a single recruit as a result of that. In fact, they've lost recruits, according to the U.S. military. I'd like to know how they're gauging that, number one. Number two, is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson really responsible? I mean, what are your thoughts here,
So here's the thing. I mean, listen, you're talking about the global media superstar in Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, right? Over 400 million followers on Facebook, Instagram. We know that The Rock has his hands into everything. Now, look, it says that they want to recoup their 11 million, but could be closer up to the 17, 20 million thing. It said that The Rock was supposed to do, like 20-something posts throughout the time of this contract, and he did two. But let's look. I'm going to play devil's advocate. We know The Rock burns the candle at both ends
And in the middle.
and in the middle. The dude burns it all the way around. Now, how do you look at this? Is it a good thing for the league or is it a bad thing for the league? Well, I mean, if you want to look at it on surface, you could say this is a bad look for the league or for The Rock itself. But at the same time, let's look at the numbers of what the USFL did. They had higher numbers compared to
Last
year.
Mm-hmm.
The attendance was better than it was last year.
Yep.
So we have this one little fault. Now, unfortunately, this article came from military.com. Now, I do have a source on the inside telling me that, this is being worked on. This is just more like a hit piece. But here's the other thing, Amber, that came from military.com. And the guy who wrote this article is the guy who was supposed to find, spending fraud.
Mm-hmm.
But then when your own broadcasting partner ESPN reports on it also, but it was an AI generated article.
Right.
Now, again, it goes to this. Was the UFL successful last year? Yes, it was. Did it have its downfalls? Yes, it did. Does this leave a bad taste in potential fans? New fans. Does this leave a bad taste in their mouth? Yes. Now, as two people who are season ticket holders, I don't expect The Rock to show up. He never showed up to St. Louis at any time. Don't even care. As long as I get football in St. Louis, I could care less. Because again, I'm playing devil's advocate. I've always been very hard. Now, you as a military person,
I'm sorry, but
how do you see it?
I don't see The Rock being responsible. We're not paying sponsorships for random celebrities to go out and do what, hey, the military is supposed to be doing. And that's their own recruiting. That's like me having you, Spurge, come out to fit yourself for a bra, make sure you got the right size for me, okay? Like, it's not going to happen. We're just not doing that. And given the fact that I don't know why they would have put that much pressure on The Rock, given the recent history with the Oprah Winfrey Hawaii $10 million in promissory for donations
For the volcano victims.
Right. And on top of that, we've got countries in this globe that has mandatory military service. Do I think the United States needs to go that far? Personally, yes, I do. I think it would teach some of these young kids a life lesson. And guess what? The world is bigger than just your Instagram selfie taking, TikTok having backyard that you call home. I think that if it's not military service that you do, at least 2 years if you want to be a veterinarian, go help animals. If you want to work in the medical field, do Doctors Without Borders or Red Cross. If you want to be an engineer, go learn to build stuff in third world countries. I think that kind of stuff will broaden horizons. I'm getting a little political. That leads me to my third reason. It's very possible, given the fact of the current climate, politically speaking, that The Rock is not wanting to do everything like that to ensure his fan base does remain at the 400 plus million mark.
Well, it's like Michael Jordan always said, Republicans and Democrats buy sneakers.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, he's got a lot going on. I know he's got stuff going on in the WWE. I know.
Right now, is it a breach of contract? Okay, maybe it is. We don't know the full story, but we know that the military wastes a lot of money on a lot of other stuff.
My thing is if it is a breach of contract, there's some information that we're missing. Number one,
exactly.
How often was it supposed to have been done?
Right.
How many words was it supposed to have been? Was there a deadline that was supposed to have been issued and completed by, so on and so forth? So to sit here and have arbitrary slander, for lack of better terms, being thrown at Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, he's not the head of the table in this instance. Just like he
No,
wasn't in the WWE. He's not the final boss in this instance. It's the UFL, okay? It's not Dwayne the Rock. He actually is just a small, happens to be a celebrity kind of figurehead type person that got this up and running, and he's waiting to cash in for his investment. And I don't blame him. I don't.
he's kind of like, I mean, it's kind of like saying, I mean, look, we know that Fox owns 50%. We know that Redbird and their investors own 50%. The question is how much does The Rock own in that 50% of the Redbird capital? Of course, you're
Exactly.
always going to pick the biggest guy who's the biggest star if you're in that investment firm. I'm like, look, the Dodgers are owned by Magic Johnson's, investment group.
Right.
Do when the Dodgers are playing like dog poop, do the people go after?
Magic
They go after
Johnson.
Magic Johnson? Why? Because he's the biggest name in it. Just like they're going after The Rock because he's the biggest name in this investment.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
mean, that's what it is. It is just that simple.
At the end of the day, I don't necessarily hold him as close to the flame as what they're trying to portray in the press. I will, however, say, Rock, if you are a man of your word, like so many millions of people believe, I would think that you would get your team involved in the social media aspect of the contract that you signed with the military. We've got social media people all over the place. I know UFL has a specified social media person. So
Hmm.
it's only fair that The Rock would have a social media person as well. If this is something that was supposed to happen, the ball was dropped with a staff member, not with him directly.
Right. I mean, let's look at it this way. I mean, like Sandy says right here, nobody is going to talk anybody into joining the military. Right. Like Odin says right here, blame the military for their low numbers, not the UFL. You're right. You can't blame the UFL. Now, the one thing I will say this, and when, I was talking to Odin earlier, he brought up a point. We had to sit through all the commercials of this Terramana and the Big Zoa,
Zoa, yes.
Big G Energy commercials at the games. Could The Rock have done a U.S. Army commercial?
I didn't see one. Did you?
I didn't see one.
If
So I
anyone
mean,
out there, yeah, if anyone out there did, please let us know in the
please
comments.
send
I'll
it to
I'll
us.
wait.
And yeah, send it to us at PR. Send it to us at PR at prfuel at gmail.com. I'd love to see it because I never saw one. Did you see one?
Not at all.
So like that was one thing he could have done there. But
I also know that some of the higher ups in the UFL, their main focus this upcoming season is better marketing.
uh-huh.
So knowing that that's their main focus coming up for the next season, the US Army should have known better. I mean,
Right.
I'm not gonna sit here and blame the kid making the lemonade if the sugar's not there, you know?
Right. I mean,
So
look, some blame could have been done on The Rock because he could have said, "Yeah, hey, look, we got a Terramana commercial. We have a big we have a Zoa Energy commercial. Let's just do a quick ten
an
to
army
15
bit.
second army bit to where we could do it, right?" And then he could have posted that. But again, he's got a social media team also. So I mean, again, it could drop onto a social media team because, like we said, the guy is burning it from both ends and right down the
And
middle. The
yeah.
dude is constantly busy. You see him all over. He's up at 4 a.m. working in the
Right.
gym,
I
jumping
will
on a
say
private plane.
I will say, Spurge, that this past season, traveling, going to all of the stadiums, I did see more military presence on field.
I did see that.
So maybe that was a condition within the contract. And if anybody out there is listening, it was there. That military presence in person was there. The effort was made. I just think that the advertisement of it could have gone a lot better. And that's the big issue that UFL has had. And they've listened to us fans and they know that that marketing is something that they've got to improve in order to get the sales. Now, as far as the recruit numbers being down, yeah, they're down because why? Because you're allowing your recruits to throw out yellow cards and nobody wants to join a soft, and I'm going to say it, a soft ass military. When I've got people telling me, "Oh, we're running in tennis shoes." I'm sorry, what? We ran our mile in boots. I ran in my jump boots. Like, come on. Come on, people. It's the military. It's the number one powerful military force in the free world. It's 100% voluntary. I mean, we've got to show up and show out. And if you're not, I don't expect you to come do my job. I'm not going to go do your job. So don't expect The Rock to come do the US Army's job. End of story. That's it. That's all I got to say about it.
Right, yeah. I mean, look, I did see I did see recruiters at the stadium when I was there.
Yep.
Uh, I mean, hell, I've even tried to talk two of my sons. I mean, I know one of my sons, he's wanting to go to, he's wanting to go to the Air Force. My youngest son's wanting to be an Air Force pilot, possibly. I know my niece is wanting to be in the Air Force.
They're great. It's a wonderful way for young adults to get out into the world, but still
Mm-hmm.
have some control over, like, I don't want to say mom and dad bearing down, cut the apron strings, but you still got Uncle Sam to answer to. So there's still
Right,
some
yeah.
some mentorship there. Somebody's watching over them, making sure they're doing what needs to be done. I mean, at the end of the day, it's more of an association than a military right now. And we need to get back to being a military.
Right, yeah. See, like here, Sandy says, the military sucks. I'm not sorry for telling the truth. She goes, I spent 4 years in the Air Force. I mean, Amber, like me and Arlington were going to talk about this, but then Arlington had some stuff he had to take care of, and Amanda had some stuff. So I was like, well, I'll join on the ATeam, and I was like, what other perfect person to talk about it? Because you, with your military experience,
Yeah. I
to
mean,
talk about it.
anybody that's potentially wanting to go in the military, I would say they're going to sell it to you like a car. Okay. If you really want to go in, the most important thing that I could tell you is to make sure that the job you want is a job that you can do out in the real world. Because everyone wants to be a tank buster or a sniper or what have you. But can you do that out here? After the
Oh,
military, can you do it? No, you can't. So make sure that the job you pick is something that can transfer over so you've got experience, you've got a resume with time of service in that field, you've got the education behind that field, and you're able to go into a company already knowing most of the steps. That's the only piece of advice I can give.
that's really good advice right there.
Well, thank you. Speaking of
Really, really,
advice, are you
really.
ready for?
Yes, it is Amber's time for Amber's advice. We got to get you a graphic. Do you
I
have a
know, right?
graphic for that?
Amber's educational corner. I don't
Do
know.
you?
I'll get my art guy to try to come up with
We
something.
really need to get you one of those. Then
Mrs.
what
Predator's
losers?
pointer, Mrs. Predator's pointer of the show.
Yeah, what
So
losers?
we were talking with Andrew Chadwick, right? And of
Mhm.
course, you picked up on the British accents,
Hello,
and
mate. No, that's Scottish. Hello, mate.
no, that's Australian.
Is that Australian?
Yes. Well, I mean, they say mate too, but you're sounding more
Okay,
Australian than English. It's
whatever.
it's it's more prim and proper. You have to have
Listen,
it.
all I know is this. Are you ready? I'll give you a treat. All I know is this: is I'm related to Robert the Bruce
Oh,
of Scotland.
nice. Okay. Well,
So
you
I'm
said
royalty.
I'm letting you eat crow. Are you ready to have your spoonful of crow spurge?
Sure.
Soccer is not an American term.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. You want to know why? Originally, football, they're known as football clubs now. They were known as associations before. And people that were in an association, they would call it a sock for short. And someone who was a member was a soccer. And at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, and you're going to love me for this, they started calling them soccer. And instead of it being a football club, they called it soccer. Now, when the Americans started playing soccer, the Brits decided they didn't want to be associated with the Americans. And so they stopped referring to it as soccer. But it originally stems from the word association. So there's your little tip for the week. Take it with some fun and go enjoy the Olympics. And who knows, if you're watching football or
Football.
soccer or
Football.
yeah, football or soccer, you'll be able to give somebody a little piece of trivia.
That is true. And you enjoy your time on your little vacation
We are. We are
where you're
definitely going to
at.
Puerto Vallarta,
There
Mexico.
you go. Anything else? It's your show. You got anything
Well,
else?
Spurge, I thank you for at least showing up without the lipstick, without the makeup and the hair, but you're here, and that's what matters
No,
the
I
most.
was gonna. Amanda was gonna do the hair up for me. It was gonna do the old 1980s Aquanet
Ooh,
spray, the bangs. You remember those back in the
the
day?
Johnny Bravo
Yes, with the curls. I was
Commodore.
like, nope. I'm just putting the hat on. And
I love
Owen,
it.
I'll get you one of these spiffy hats.
Nice. I will look forward to wearing it. As for me, I'm Amber. That's Spurge. Thank you so much for joining the A team, and we look forward to seeing you all next week.